I am an ethnic Macedonian. Once again, and I must admit, with added revulsion, the errors of their ways must be confronted, and their repugnant distortion of the truth ought to be emphasized. I am referring to the usual Greek dribble against Macedonia, and the ethnic Macedonians is regurgitated, anew with the usual Greek twist of classic denial, and outright fabrications. But what intrigues me the most, is not their vociferous lies and denials, but their inability to confront and comprehend the meaning of the word self-identification. A cornerstone component of the basic, unalienable human rights, guaranteed by the Universal Charter of Human Rights Treaties of the United Nations. Here is the government of Greece, whose main objective is, and always has been, denial of existence, and a systematic elimination of an ethnic Macedonian population. This so-called democracy exhibits pervasive signs of decadent, almost paranoid tendencies, inflicted with and fueled by a dangerously hysterical obsession with self-grandeur, as inheritors of the ancient Hellenes, and governed by arbitrary parameters of moral standards. It stands alone, and quite isolated on the fringes of the European socio-judicial landscape. It seems that the veil of ignorance has blinded their illusory ambitions to wipe out any remnants of the Macedonians' past. Without a reliable and truthful historical compass, their political ship is adrift into a predictable abyss of fascist dictatorship. Few, if any, doubt that the present-day government in Greece can maintain its treacherous course for too long. Here, the democratic principles on which modern countries have built their societies have suffered irreparable damage. The progressive forces in Greece are either silenced, or too afraid to mount any resistance, when that happens, the likes of Chrysiabi and Stohos, ultranationalist subscribers, will rule unopposed to spread their hate at will, and become the sole measuring dispensers of justice in Greece. How else can one reconcile with the fact that Greece today shows total and defiant disregard for international covenants of human rights? How else can one justify the fact that this Greek government, through various channels of its propaganda machine, denies the existence of people who dare to identify themselves as ethnic Macedonians? How else can one validate the actions of the Greek Secret Service to harass and persecute people, Greek citizens, who have declared to have other than Greek ethnic consciousness? Is it really up to these Greeks to tell their minority populations living in Greece who they are and how to ethnically identify themselves? Isn't that clearly stipulated in the covenant that states, all peoples have the right of self-determination? By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social and cultural development. And the states parties to the present covenant shall promote the realization of the right of self-determination, and shall respect that right, in conformity with the provisions of the Charter of the United Nations. Isn't it expected of the Greek state, a member of the European nations, instead of denying that ethnic Macedonians exist, and instead of suppressing their universally recognized human rights, guaranteed by the Charter of the United Nations, to strive to promote the realizations of these rights of self-identification? Instead of you telling me who I am, you should first and foremost show respect for and be in observance of my human rights as an individual. It is not up to you, nor is it any business of your government, to tell me who I am and how to identify myself. You should raise your voice against the inhumane practices employed by your government towards Greek citizens who, in spite of the inherent danger of reprisals and persecution, have declared themselves as ethnically and culturally different than the rest of the people in Greece. If these Greek citizens tell you that they feel, consider, and like to be recognized for what they strongly believe that they are ethnic Macedonians, then you and your government need to realize that it is their inherent right to declare themselves as such. If these Greek citizens tell you that they identify themselves not as Dopoi, not as Slarvophone Greeks, not as Slarvo-Macedonians, but simply as ethnic Macedonians, then you and your government ought to comprehend and realize that it is their right to be called what they have said they want to be called. You and your government ought to cease to circumvent, redefine, or in any form or shape negate that right. It is high noon for all of you hate disseminators to come to grips with the reality that the only person, the only entity, the only body empowered to declare and decide my own ethnicity is me. Only then, Greek people, will the cycle of hate, repression, mistrust, and prejudice subside and be eliminated in due time. If these people do not exist, as per your government's assertion, then why is their language forbidden? What are you afraid of? If these people, the ethnic Macedonians, do not exist, then why do you spy on them? Why do you recruit people, spies, to watch and report on their activities? Why create spynists like Aristoteles clubs and such in areas where these supposed non-existing people live? How come you do not create such cultural clubs in the old Greece itself? If Macedonia was always Greek, then why in the world did the Greeks neither ask nor raised a whisper about Macedonia in 1828 or in 1878? Why would you leave a major section of your own country unredeemed? If Macedonia was always Hellenic, how come Greece had a consulate office in Solon, now known as Thessalonica, before 1912? Is this a Greek thing to have a consular office in your own country? If Macedonia was Greek, then why would your first Greek president Yannis Kapodistria call for a sovereign and independent Macedonian state? If Macedonia was always Greek, then why did your King George I refer to Macedonia as an occupied territory? Why would Elias Petropoulos state that he does not believe the histories of Salonika as contrived by various modern Greek historians? He stated, they are histories which reek of chauvinism. If Macedonia was always Hellenic, why would your Greek government undertake such strenuous measures to change all the Macedonian toponyms? The reasons given by your government as follows. Those that pollute and disfigure the appearance of our beautiful fatherland, which provide an opportunity for hostile peoples to draw conclusions unfavorable for the Greek nation. Why would your Greek government erase the Macedonian words from walls of monuments and churches, and even from the graveyards outside, and burn all Macedonian books found hidden in the monasteries? Why resort to such a hideous cultural genocide unprecedented in human history? Why were ceremonies, in the 1930s, conducted in the villages, where Macedonians lived, to swear in front of the Greek flag Greek religious and military dignitaries that they will cease speaking the Slavic idiom, which only gives grounds for misunderstanding, to the enemies of our country? Have you ever spoken against these monstrously inhumane measures? Why were Macedonians stripped of their Macedonian personal names and given Greek names instead? Don't you Greeks find this Greek practice revolting and abhorrent? Did you think that by forced Hellenization and the banning of our Macedonian language you will define us out of our existence? Did you think and hope that by exertion of force from you, or from anybody else for that matter, we will forget and erase from our collective memory that our forebears had Macedonian consciousness? You have clearly, and to your own detriment, underestimated our Macedonian resolve. We will remain steadfast in our fight for justice, and will relinquish neither our name, nor our dignity, and definitely not our self-identity, as ethnic Macedonians. There will be other battles to follow. With your incessant lies and fabrications, you have made us much stronger and more resilient than ever before. You have not seen the real fighting Macedonians yet. It needs to be stressed, and by all means, it needs to be borne in mind, that there will be no surrender to your political blackmail and cultural or racist manipulations. I will have you know, if you didn't know already, that your modern Metaxa days are over. We will suffer no more. We will stand tall, and never give up on the Macedonian truth.